Josie's on his vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. So many things that I wanna say. You know I like my girls a little bit older. I just wanna use.
It's another edition of Inside Pitch. Ryan Divish, Seattle Times, the hardest working man in show business, who joins us from the farm in Ording for another edition of the world-renowned Inside Pitch. Everyone trying to replicate this, they can't do it. It's all brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley. Go visit Chalet Bowl today. Book your next lane reservation, birthday parties, anything, company parties. It's a great spot to have some fun and bowl, eat some great food, drink some great drinks. Chalet Bowl, chaletbowl.com. All right, Ryan Divish with us, Inside Pitch. We talk Mariners every single week. We will cover it all. We got a lot to cover with you. A lot, because we've got it's as you wrote about in the paper on Thursday's edition, of the up and down nature of this baseball team, right? The 5-1 road trip, good. They come back, they get swept by the Royals, bad. And then they take 2 out of 3. And you can make an argument they could have swept the best team in baseball, a team that had not lost a series this year. But, boy, they have been a roller coaster ride to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's, over the course of a baseball season, it's always up and down, and you have, like, fits and starts, and you have good stretches and bad stretches. But, like, this is erratic. This is erratic. This is probably like some of your college girlfriends. The behavior is very erratic. It's very schizophrenic, multiple personalities, those sorts of things. Puck, for you, I know how those frat guys roll over in WSU. So no, it's really hard to predict. And people will sit there and say, oh, they play down to the bad teams and up to the good teams. But I don't think it's that. I just think sometimes when they don't execute, it doesn't matter who they play, they're not going to win. But when they execute, when they play to kind of the level of talent that they have, then they're a really good team capable of beating good teams.
They are a team, though. I think we've talked about this many times before, and it just kind of feels like they're the same team this year, that they are a team in the regular season offensively that doesn't match up for 162 games, that it's a team that matches up more for the postseason because of how they play offensively. They still haven't changed their MO, right? I mean, it's, hey, let's get a walk, maybe a hit, and then let's hit a 2-run, 3-run home run. I mean, that just kind of seems what they are, and what they did against certainly the Braves. And it's a weird one because that plays out more in the playoffs versus the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, it's not how they want to play, but it's how they've been able to score runs of late. I think they would prefer, and that was part of their goal, is to get more diverse offensively. That's why they, but you don't have all your pieces in there either. Like, you don't have Brendan Donovan in there to get on base more, to get, more of that kind of the singles and the bat to ball skills. You don't have Victor Robles in there against lefties who gives you some stolen base qualities. You're using, that's one thing is, like, Brendan Donovan has missed more games than he's played this year. So you're looking at it like, how many games have they had their full complement of players? Like, the way they set up their roster, the way they want to play, how many times have they had that this season? I would say pretty minimal, because JP missed the first part of the season. Then Donovan's out. Then you have Robles going out. You have all these guys going out. Like, they have not, and that's every team. But, like, I think at some point they're going to get 85 to 90% of their roster healthy. It may not be for another month or two, but, they're getting back more of their daily lineup with Donovan comes back this weekend. And maybe we see a little different way to score. But you look, their stolen base numbers are sort of down because they're not as fast. You don't have Dylan Moore coming off the bench anymore to steal bags. And Julio has only stolen a few. Randy leads the team, but they're I think Naylor's second. But your opportunities to steal, like, they haven't been able to play the type of baseball they want because they haven't had the personnel that they've always wanted either.
All right, let's get to, there's a lot to cover. We're going to get to JP. We're going to talk about Andres Munoz, Brian Wu, and what the last week for Wu has been like, Cole Young, all of it. Let's go to injuries since you brought it up. As we sit here this week, where are we at with Brendan Donovan? He's getting close, right? He should be joining the team in Chicago, correct?
Yeah, he was supposed to join the team on Thursday or today and then play, be reinstated tomorrow. The game in Arkansas got rained out yesterday, so he was supposed to play another game, I think, at their base, but he didn't get to play because it got rained out. So I don't know if they're going to make him play one more game or if he's just going to show up and be ready to go. I mean, he looked good, in the plate and everything like that. I mean, like for him, his approach is so simple and how he does stuff and the way he goes about his business. I don't think he needs a ton of rehab games to get his timing back. I mean, basically, it's just the maintenance of whether or not he can keep that core healthy and not tweak it at any point to cause more issues as he goes forward. But that's something they got to monitor. And it sounds like I never want to have a sports hernia surgery.
Hey, I have.
What were you
I've
doing?
had one.
How did you manage to hurt yourself?
One.
Yeah, because when I think of
I don't
athletes and
know.
sports hernias and associated with sports, I think of you.
Maybe one
of those illegal picks you were setting and Pickup Basketball gave you one. You and Kevin Shockey. The two most illegal picks.
They're not illegal picks. They're not illegal.
Oh my God, you move more than Steven Adams for the old guy for the.
It's not true.
Oh, bull. Because what you do is when you go to set the high pick and you pop off of it, you give the extra shove, then you rub. Yeah, but you pop, hold, and then kind of block.
Well, there's
and
the
then
extra
pop.
shove is in there, but it's a veteran move, Divish. Yeah, maybe learn it. But Donovan will be on this, whether he plays on Friday when they start the series, right? He's going to be on this road trip, so the lineup will get better and healthier and all that. He shuffles right back into third base, and they get a little bit longer, and they can use Rivas and all that. They can manipulate their bench a little bit. So now Victor Robles is getting closer to return. No.
Yeah, I think he'll probably play the next. He's probably going to play another week or two, just because he hasn't played very much. So they may maximize his rehab time, and I think part of it too is like they're pretty comfortable. Like, honestly, Connor Joe's had some pretty decent at bats. They don't love playing him in the outfield, and Ref Snyder's dinged up. That's one thing too. Like when Robles comes back, maybe they have to give Ref Snyder. He's got just dinged up his knee a little bit, and he's 35 years old, so there's going to be dings and dents along the way. And maybe that's something they do as well.
What are the moves when they come back, though? When Donovan and Robles come back, what are the corresponding moves they make?
Well, one of the catchers will go down. They're carrying 3 catchers right now. Yeah. So Johnny Pareto will go back to AAA, and that will be for Donovan because they're playing without a backup infielder. Like people were asking me yesterday, like, why do they let Connor Joe bat against the Rays? They didn't have another infielder because, like, if you put in Canzone, then they don't have another right-handed throwing infielder. Like Connor Joe was taking ground balls at third base to be the emergency third baseman. The other emergency third baseman at that point the other day was Mitch Garver. They were taking ground balls at third base so they could kind of do that. And then Ref Snyder is dinged up and can't play in the field. Actually, when Rob was called up his first time as a prospect, he was a second baseman. He called up as a second baseman. He played all over. In college, I believe he was a shortstop or a second baseman. So, they didn't have a backup infielder, so they'll move one of the catchers out, probably Pareda and go back to AAA, and then they'll activate Donovan. And then when Robles comes back, it'll be, like I said, it'll be going to be Connor Joe, or maybe they make another decision. I don't know how they would work it.
Okay, and now we get to Bryce Miller, which then leads to kind of the juiciest kind of conversation what they're going to do. Bryce Miller is close. I think he's going to make one. I think as we stand now. You correct me, one more, and then he's ready to go?
Yeah, I think so, because he only went, 60-something last night? And so they need him up to 85. And so he would start Tuesday morning in Tacoma and the kids' game at 11 a.m.
Right.
That'll be a lovely drive for Bryce from Issaquah all the way to Tacoma at 11 at the crack of dawn to have a bunch of kids singing Baby Shark when he gets to the start. So those Tacoma day games used to be my nightmare because, I don't really like kids.
Yeah.
So
you don't like kids,
no,
yes,
so,
and people, but kids primarily.
I would think that's what they're going to do. Adam Jude's got a story coming out today on Bryce and what they're trying, like some of that stuff. He went and sat at the game last night with Pete Woodworth, the pitching coach, and some of the scouts that were probably there scouting. And I think Jerry DePoto and Justin Hollander were there too to watch. So once that happens, so like Tuesday, they'll start Bryce, then they have 5 more days or 6 more days, like 5 more days, and then they have to make a decision. My guess is that, they pull one of the relievers, probably Nick Davila or somebody off there, put Bryce on the staff, and then, my guess is they would piggyback Luis Castillo and Bryce Miller in starts, go 4-3 or 3-4, 4-4, and try to do it that way. I mean, was it Hillbilly Justice or whatever you want? It reminds me very much of when the Robinson Cano came off the came off a suspension that one year, and they were going to play him at third and move D Gordon around. It was like a solution that made nobody happy and pissed off everyone. But
Yeah,
I think that's the one logical thing. I don't think they're just going to straight run Castillo to the bullpen or make Bryce like a full-time reliever. They got to keep him stretched out.
well, that's
the
what I was going
moment,
to ask you. Would that? That's what I was. Yeah, would that? So you don't think that's an option where they just put Miller full time in the bullpen? You think that the most likely scenario is what you laid out, that they will kind of they'll piggyback each other. One goes 4, one goes 3.
Yeah, I think.
He and Castillo.
Yeah, because I think the moment you believe you have too much starting pitching is the moment somebody gets hurt. Baseball gods have a way of fucking with you that way. And I think that's what would happen. I think that's the most logical. They could make Bryce more of a reliever, especially given that they don't have a lot of leverage arms now, and say, hey, this is sort of temporary. We just need you to do this we need you to do this till Brash comes back. But I mean, you just don't, like, Bryce got injured. You don't want to, so then you've built this guy up to be a starter and all the stuff to keep his oblique healthy. And then all of a sudden you're going to roll him out in a totally different role. At least as the piggyback type of guy, you're still getting 3 and 4 innings. You're building your pitch count up. What the problem is when you do that is if somebody has a 2-inning start or something and blows up, it can totally mess up all of the stuff. But having Simpson and Davila on the team right now, those guys have minor league options. So it does give you some flexibility. You can work around it. Like if you put Bryce on, you have some guys with minor league options, you can make some moves. But they're kind of hamstrung that way. And I don't think they completely know. I would imagine this is another audition type of start for Luis Castillo and what they want to do and help them make up their mind. But they're not going to get rid of him. They're not going to DFA him. Like, God, I hate that on Twitter whenever it says just DFA. They don't get rid of players. It's hard. Like even the player you hate. Yeah, they could Phantom IL him or IL him with fatigue or arm, whatever. But I don't think.
I was wondering that. Could they IL him and go that way? Because they're not going to put him in the bullpen. But the other option would be the Phantom IL thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a respect level you have with Castillo, and that's the one thing is like how you treat your guys now in these sorts of moments. That resonates among players, and you don't want that. Baseball's a cold business, and Jerry for a long time had the reputation of being pretty cold about some of the stuff, and I think Justin Hollander has helped massage some of that. I don't think that they want to go and like offend Luis Castillo because ostensibly it offends the other players on the roster because it's like, look at how they treated this guy. Look at what he's done for this organization. Look at how they treat this guy. Why would I want to stay here? They're going to do the same thing to me. So I think that's something that you have to gauge is like, how do you, because I think the Mariners have really kind of rebuilt their reputation in terms of being a place that players want to go to, especially pitchers. So like how they handle this, they have to be very smart. And I don't think like I said, I'm sure they have all kinds of plans, they have plans of what they want to do. We could do it this way. We have this way. If this happens, far more planning than our elected leaders in every capacity, both parties. There's more planning, I think, than what we're dealing with. So how it works, is going to be based on what they see from performances. Like they could piggyback it for a while. And if that just absolutely looks terrible, then they'll have to make an adjustment. But I just, they have to keep this group of 6, stretched out and ready to go because you're just one line drive away from not having one of your members of your rotation.
That brings us up to a guy that's not going to be in the conversation now, but he's a pitcher, and he's wowing everybody down in the minors right now. How much longer? There's not a spot for him, but what do you do with Kade Anderson? He is just annihilating competition down in Arkansas.
Yeah, man. I watched the other day. I watched a little bit of it. The way he attacks, man, like I know that some of the guys in the Mariners even, so I don't know about Cliff Lee. Then I watch him and he's just strike 1, strike 2, just attacks, and probably says, I reckon I'm going to go get something to eat afterwards. Like that reminds me of Cliff Lee, the way he goes and gets guys. I think they want to see if he'll struggle. They want to see how he handles adversity. He's going to struggle at some point. It happens to everyone. And whether or not maybe some fatigue sets in, he's going on every 6 days and it's similar to a college season, but like, the grind of a pro season is different than college. So we'll see what happens. Does he hit a wall here in the next week or two? Does he push through it? What do they do? I don't know that they're going to send him to Tacoma, just because it's just not like the PCL can do damage. I don't think like Kade has got I don't think he psychologically would turtle if he goes to Tacoma and gives up some bombs because it's such a pitcher friendly environment in the PCL. I think he's more mentally strong than that. But what happens sometimes in the PCL is it develops bad habits because there are a lot of balls that may not be hit very well that go out and stuff. And you don't want pitchers to get results based oriented and do things different. But at the same time, like maybe that's the next challenge. Go up there and see what hitters with major league approaches are. I mean, like think about, you look at the Tacoma roster, and I saw the other day that like Samad Taylor won the PCL Player of the Month for El Paso. Like think about how many players with significant major league time are in AAA. That is as good of a test as you're going to get for preparing yourself for the major leagues. Going against guys with established approach that won't chase breaking balls, that aren't, know what they want to do and know how to hit. So that may be the next step. They have been sort of resistant about sending pitchers to Tacoma, but, Emerson Hancock did it last year, and I think that he was better for it. So that would be the next logical step, but I wouldn't think we'd see that till after June, middle of June, maybe till after the draft even.
Okay, do you think we have a conversation at some point moving forward, especially, I guess, not now, but when Brash comes back, about the future of Andres Munoz at that back end of the bullpen?
I mean, maybe. I think what they could, but see, Munoz likes the structure of the save situation and where he knows versus
he likes knowing where to go.
He likes knowing that he's going to go, he's going to go in the ninth, no matter, like, he's going to go in the ninth of a home game, whether it's tied or they're up. And he's going to go, that way. He likes that kind of structure. I don't know if it's his routine to get ready, but he said he preferred that. You could go more matchup based, but I think they have to, there's just no soft landings now. So he's going to have to figure it out while Brash is out, anyway. So it's like, I think you're going to have a better idea in these next couple weeks, what he is as a closer and what he isn't based on that. I think, like, it was so funny the night before he was diming, he was great. And me and Adam Jude kind of joked. It's like, I swear to God, if he comes in and his first pitch is a slider for a strike, it's going to be a good night. And if it's not, if he misses for the first couple of pitches, then it's like, oh my God, what's going on? And I do think that sometimes it's weird. Like, if I was that guy, I'd be doing the Vince McMahon walk to the mound, and just ripping pitches and brushing fastballs on a guy's chin and like, I'm the man. But I think there are times where Munoz doesn't understand how good he can be. They did that a few years ago where he was afraid to throw the ball in the strike zone, and they made him stand in on the trajectory machine against himself to see what it looks like coming out of his hand, what his pitches look like and how nasty they are. And I think we've seen sometimes where, like, he takes it so hard when he gives up bad results that then it makes him passive. Like, no, you need to attack. You need to attack. So what? You give up some hits. Like, the worst thing you can do is go passive in this situation. It's tough. Like the slider that he gave up to home run the other night, it wasn't a great pitch. It backed up, stayed on, it kind of hung on the outside corner. But with the exception of Shohei Ohtani and maybe Bryce Harper, nobody hits the ball out. Matt Olson, those three lefties, to hit it into the freaking pen at night when it was cool, to drive it that hard. Most of those guys, they might get a hit on it. It might be a double, might be a ball to the gap, but most hitters don't hit that pitch out to that spot in the park. A lot of them would roll over on that because it's on the outer half, roll over and hit your ground ball to second. So, like, I don't think he should beat himself up over the result given the factor of who was hitting. Obviously, you don't want to make that mistake to Matt Olson, but like the intent of what he was trying to do was correct. He just didn't execute. So I don't think they're in a position right now to really like say, oh, we're not going to have him as a closer. I guess you could go matchup based in the sense, like, if you're looking down the roster and it's getting to the 8th and 9th, and there's more right-handers coming up in the 8th, and you have Ferrer rested, and there's going to be a bunch of lefties in the 9th, then maybe you do it that way. But I don't think I don't, I'd be worried. Like Jose Ferrer has been really durable, but man, he's getting into Bizarro territory where they're using him so much. Like you're going to run the risk. I mean, what was it, a couple years ago where Spire and all those guys were cooked in the last month of the season because it took so much for them to win one game. Like I think the one thing is, like, we get into this closer situation and all that stuff. The underlying factor in all of this is they're not playing well enough in the first 6 innings to eliminate the one-run games.
Right.
Because, and given the amount of talent that they have, they shouldn't be in as many one-run games as they are, and that's the bigger issue.
It just comes back. I mean, we come full circle. It just comes back to the offense. The offense can't put teams away because they play in all these close games all the time, in which it makes them more suited for the postseason to play in these games. But in the long run, the regular season, they bury themselves because they play this way every single night. All right, a couple of more rapid fire things before we close it out. I know you're probably not surprised by it, but do you think it's become, I don't know, you tell me, personal, this JP Crawford discourse that you see with fans on social media? It seems like Divish, if he makes one bad play, he is the worst player that has ever put on a Major League Baseball uniform. If he hits a couple of 2-run home runs, you don't hear anything. It's kind of what we've discussed before with Dan Wilson, but some fans, and maybe it's just a vocal minority, I don't know. And I'm not here to sit there and say that he's playing Gold Glove quality over there at shortstop. He's not. I think anybody could acknowledge that. Are you surprised, though, by some that have put him in the crosshairs?
No, because it's Twitter. So it's like everybody's in the crosshairs. To me, it's like, so like the other day, the guys from Marine Layer, they put out this tweet about the Mariners outs above average and where they rank and everything, and it just took on a life of its own. And I like those guys; they do a lot of research. But to me, one, you don't use defensive metrics 1 month into the season. 2, like outs above average is one metric based on one aspect. You have defensive run save based on another. So I'm looking at the stats. Well, the Mariners rank last as a team in outs above average, but they rank 10th or 8th as a team in defensive run save. So which is it? Because one is based on range, one is based on other factors. And they're all these defensive metrics, they're all like me in 5th or 3rd grade division. They don't show their work. They just put the answer up. And so, like, we don't know all the factors that go into determining this. Like, there was one game where Cole Young made 4 plays, including turning 2 double plays, and his defensive run saved actually went down. And I'm like, he didn't make any errors. So I don't like using that. And so going back to the larger point, like, they put this out there, and I was like, well, yeah, I didn't expect them to be good defensively this year. I didn't expect JP, who gets really beat up on any range factors because he doesn't go to his left well anymore. And I think some of the errors for going to his left are the acknowledgement that he doesn't go well to his left. So, like, to me, it was like, this is who JP is. What were you expecting? Now, there have been a couple of errors, plays in the box. I think it's magnified because people are looking for reasons to criticize him. They are. I mean, that's because it's like, and, they want Cole Young up, or they want Colt Emerson up. It's, if it's like, and I don't think that like Colt Emerson's the backup quarterback scenario in this. I do think that, like, similar to college football recruiting, when I used to do that and hate it, like, there is an obsession with potential versus present, and the prospects offer all this potential of who they could be and what they could be without, like, looking at the present of what they are now. And it's like, I've talked to Jerry DiPoto and Justin Hollander about this. Adam has as well. Like, they have no intention of moving JP off of shortstop. Unless he's injured, the only way, if Colt Emerson comes up, he's playing third base. He might play shortstop on a couple of days if they want to give JP days off. But as far as everything we've been told, that JP is their starting shortstop moving forward. They feel comfortable with that. Like, yeah, it may not be the prettiest at times, but to me, just make the plays that you're supposed to make. I don't, the exceptional plays. Look at Ellie De La Cruz makes the absurd plays, But what are his defensive ratings? His range factors are off the chart. But how many balls does he box straight at him? How many plays that should be made don't get made? And that's the biggest thing. And I think there have been times where JP, and even admittedly, so is like gets conscious of that. Like, he doesn't move as well as he used to. It's not the same as it used to. So then he gets out of his fundamentals, and that's when a mistake happens. And I think that's the reminder of just be solid. And Perry Hill calls them plays in the box. 2 steps to your right, 2 steps to your left. Make those plays, make the outs that should be outs, and you're going to win more games than you will.
All right, last thing for you. You and I we've gone back and forth on this. This is for the audience, right? Because you and I have always had this. But I'm just bringing it up because I think it's my point on this about platoons isn't so much what the Mariners are doing, because this is who they are. This is how they're going to build their team. I guess my larger thing with the platoon system, because Divish and I have texted back and forth, I'm just not especially when you have guys like Canzone and Raley, who, again, because they're facing all right-handers, I think are like third or fourth, maybe second and third in slugging on the team right now. And that may have changed here in the last week. And especially when Raley was going hot, I felt, you know what? Why not just see if he can hit a left-hander? Because the other guys aren't. I mean, and you've mentioned before, Ref Snyder's been banged up, and that's part of probably his struggles. But he hasn't delivered what they thought he was going to deliver when they acquired him. He was supposed to hit left-handers. He hasn't hit left-handers. My bigger thing, I guess, with baseball is all these guys are the 1%ers in their sport. They have hit left-handers both sides their entire life. They didn't, grow up in Little League and high school and college, and the minors going, well, I'm only going to hit from one side. That's it. I'm only going to hit one pitcher. They've all hit, all of them. But then we've got to this point in baseball where we've told these guys, you are only doing this now. And that's it. And then they get stuck in this lane where they can only do that. I just looked it up, and I know it's a small sample size. I looked up Luke Raley, I think when he was with the Rays in 2023. Okay, it was 41 at-bats. It's nothing compared to 316 against right-handers. He had 268 against lefties that year. I mean, it's not like he just cannot hit a left-hander. And my point is not to go full-time on it, Divish.
No.
But when the other side's not working and you got two guys that are hitting the ball well, why not just see if it can work for a week? Who knows? Rather than just stick to the script of the whole time that they do.
Do you go against the book? If you're playing third base and blackjack, do you go against the book? Because Flickhawk will say to him, he would used to say, like, as I've watched him play blackjack, I played with him, like, it is the most aggravating thing in the world. Because he's looking at the moment and saying, look, yeah, but I felt like this was going to work this time. Yeah, you just dicked over the whole table. The percentages tell you, the inefficiencies tell you, you don't hit on 13 when they're showing 13. But like, but I want 20. Come on, man. Like, you're going to get, like, it's just, the percentages, what the platoons do is to minimize inefficiencies. It isn't ideal. I think everybody would love to have guys like that. But and you're talking about, yeah, they've hit coming up. But what happens is the best pitchers in the world learn to adjust and find your holes, find all your stuff. And then, they expose you.
Farm.
And what can happen on that too is by doing that, by being exposed, then players by nature, they start messing with what had made them successful because they're not having success anymore. And so then you pick up bad habits and things like that. I think there's times where the strategy calls for you not to just run to your platoons. Whether it's like, say it's the fourth inning, there's nobody coming up, there's nobody on base. Maybe don't run to your platoon knowing who they have in the bullpen and all that other stuff. But overall, the concept is sound when you don't have, a player that handles it well. I think that's just the way it is. It's the smart guy, that's the analytics version of baseball. But, it's no different than, like, if you're going to bring in, like, yeah, why would you try out a lefty? Like you say back in the days when if you have a lefty waiting in the bullpen and you got a right-hander, but he's pitched really well lately. No, you go get the guy. It's the same with Andres Munoz, and that it's different in bullpen situations, especially in the postseason. But you want your best possible opportunity, what you say gives you the best chance for success versus, their best chance for success. So whether or not Rob Refsnyder is like hitting well at the moment, based on every point of data that you have and everything you know about him, he is still likely going to have more success than Luke Raley versus a tough lefty that's in there to get, like the whole point of bringing in a lefty reliever in that situation is because, lefties are coming up and they don't hit lefties. You know what I mean? Like the strategy works both ways. So I don't know. I mean, like to me, it's like the percentages.
Hold on. Dom Canzone last year in 43 games hit 276 against lefties. So I just don't want to be told that they can't do it.
No, I don't.
Because there's plenty of evidence that they can do it.
I think Dom and Luke,
I think these guys get so caught up in it.
Yeah.
I'm not more than other teams because other teams do it. I think they get so caught up in it sometimes, and I think just roll them out there and see if what would be right now the negative of trying it, because the other guy in Refsnyder, they're not doing anything, nothing.
Yeah, but it's like,
I mean, he's just an automatic out every time.
How do you get him to do something if you don't put them in there? Because they're already limited in their platoon. They're already limited in their plate appearances as it is. So to me, it's like, then Canzone
that is a problem.
And Canzone and Refsnyder, or Canzone and Raley are very, very different in that regard. Partially because Dom has basically become a full-time DH. He plays outfield once every 2 weeks. So like how you use him is different, and like, he did better against lefties last year, but again, it's not, a lot of the times it's the lefties you're facing. It's not just the left-handed starter. It's the left-handed situational guy. It's Adrian Morejon of the Padres, or, Matt Strom, or one of those guys that have specialized in getting lefties out their entire career and made their career out of it. Like that's the ones you want to really lean heavily into the platoons. And like, honestly, like on a start day, when there's a lefty starter starting, there's nothing wrong with running your platoons out there because you're likely going to put those other guys in to pinch hit anyways. Because how many lefties do most teams carry in their bullpen? So the opportunities are there. And to me, if you want your right-handed bats to get going a little bit, you got to play them against lefties when you get the opportunity so that they can get going a little bit. I think, I know people are hating on Refsnyder. I thought like the at-bats and stuff have been good. He's had some bad luck. He's hit the ball hard. He is still a viable player. And if we're not talking like Dylan Moore strikeout numbers here. Okay, this isn't an automatic out. Like you're walking up, it's 4 pitches and 3 swings and misses. Like this, let's be real clear about what we're seeing here and what we're not.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, another episode. We will, like many things, we agree to disagree. It is Ryan Divish, Inside Pitch, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl in the backdrop of the beautiful farm in Ording, Washington. Good luck, Godspeed on the road trip.
Tell you about the goddamn tequila.
Well, they made a pretty good argument when you weren't here.
Oh, yeah? Who made the argument? 17-year-old?
Neither of them acted 17, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the older one?
You're going to have to help me with this shit now.